What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Little Hope's new trailer, kind of what we learned, and just overall discussion on this game. Now, I'm very excited to have woken up yesterday to a trailer of Little Hope. If you guys have watched this channel, have been around for a little while, you know that I've covered Little Hope as much as I can on this channel whenever there is a little bit of news on it. And I'm pretty excited and pretty optimistic, I think is a good phrase or a good word to describe my approach to Little Hope. Man of Medan obviously had a lot of problems, and that's no shocker, that's no surprise, right? We know that game struggled in a lot of respects. I thought overall it was a good game, but it definitely did have a lot of, problems with it. Little Hope really needs to rebound. I think the emphasis there on it is the rebounding part. They really need to hit it out of the park, and the trailer looked very, very good. The trailer actually, I think, gave us more than we know. Funny enough, and I don't know, I can't really do a full-on analysis of this part because I don't know. When the curator is taking the book out of Little Hope, you see to the left of his hand, you see a picture of the boat, which is the book of Man of Medan. Then you see the book that he's taking out, which is Little Hope. The ones next to it, there are a few, I believe there's at least two of them that do have symbols on it. Now, I don't know what the symbols mean. I don't really think it's that easy to figure out what those symbols mean until maybe we get to see the game itself, but that is just an interesting thing. There may be definitely people out there smarter than me could look at those images and say, hey, here's what they could possibly be. But I think obviously right there was kind of teasing future games. Even the curator at the end said, like, we'll either see you in Little Hope or some other place, obviously again referring to the next games coming out. So I like that. I like the idea of them even in this trailer for this game. And now you could actually look at that as a negative. I know a lot of people maybe don't like that, especially with movies. If you try and like jump the gun, focus on what comes next versus what's going on in the moment. And I definitely agree. You have to focus in on the moment, but it's only a trailer, right? It's the reveal trailer. So I'm perfectly fine with them focusing, 95%, 98% on this game, but then also kind of throwing in, hey, don't forget, as if we haven't told you enough times, there's going to be 6 more games after this. But no, the trailer honestly looked really, really good. I think there was a big emphasis on flashbacks and on the past, on really how these witch trials and all this kind of stuff started, which is interesting. And we knew that, Little Hope in general was going to kind of be about that. I mean, obviously we knew that was the central idea, but the question was, I guess, how much were we going to see of that starting point from the trailer? I'd almost say it was half and half, that we got to see the past just as much as we got to see the present. So what's going to be interesting is, again, it's just a trailer. It's just a couple snippets. And when you really think about it, if it's like a 2-minute trailer, I mean, if the game's like 4 hours, it's insanely, insanely short, and they're just a couple small moments. So, I mean, again, that's not very reflective of the full game, but I am going to be interested to see how much we see of the past. Now, of Man of Medan, remember, we got to see the very beginning of that game was pretty much setting up the area and kind of having maybe even like a Scream kind of scenario, right, where like it happens to a group of people, or in Scream's case, like it would happen to 1 or 2 people, and that kind of sets up the movie, or they're watching like the parody movie, right, like that kind of stuff. Honestly, that's what it kind of felt like to me, is that we're setting it up, we're giving an example of what this does to a group of people, and obviously those group of people did, kind of come back eventually, right, because it was like the ship's crew, they came back in the game. So with Little Hope, is the game going to start off with the past, where we're going to be able to see all of the stuff that happened to the people that lived here? I think that's probably it. I don't know if they would go back and forth. I don't really think that's their style, to go back and forth with like time period jumping. I don't really think that's it. I feel like they would start with that. But again, the game looked, I think, more scary than Man of Medan. I think that's kind of their goal. I feel like that's kind of their approach to it. And we've talked about that, right, with the supernatural elements, and they're definitely going, like, there's like that supernatural being, looks like a Wendigo. Obviously it's not, but it's got that kind of design, and we know how scary those were. But again, witches, ghosts, those kind of things. And they even say, now I guess, okay, I'll save what I'm about to say for a second. So I like the idea of what they're trying to do. I like that it's definitely more aimed at scaring you. It does seem more scary, more eerie, and I like that. Now, a thing I do want to address is, in the trailer, he was saying how, what exactly is causing all this? Were they actually witches? Was it like a demonic or like a bad presence on the people accusing them? And I actually like that, because that is like, that does go back to like historical things. That's always kind of been a thing, and that's even a thing in just general life. life is, do you believe in that kind of like demonic spirits that maybe they are around, or maybe it does control people? Very, very interesting to look into, right? Whether you believe it or not, it's cool to like think about, or maybe not cool to think about, but it's an interesting thing that could happen, right? And so I do like that approach. But he also says, or maybe it's something completely separate. That goes to, again, remember we've talked about here and on podcast now, some of the things they need to do and not do. And one of the things I focused on was you got to watch that twist, because all of these games have had twists, right? We know that supernatural things can exist because the Wendigos were real. So, like, they do go into, like, the world, whether or not all these worlds are literally in the same, like, Earth, like our current world, whether or not they are, the world that they've built, at least for Until Dawn, did have supernatural elements, right? Because it had the Wendigos. Man of Medan, I mean, it didn't really, because it was chemicals that was making your mind think that you saw those things, so nothing was really happening. So that one, if that was taking place in the same world as Until Dawn, then okay, then supernatural things could still happen. If it wasn't, then that does kind of throw a wrench into my argument. But with Little Hope, again, now the question is it in the same world as Until Dawn? Because those creatures, they could very well be real. They don't have to be fake. In fact, I don't think they could be fake unless, again, they have to do something else with something is doing something with their mind, right? Where they're hallucinating or they're just making stuff up. That would have to happen. And again, that right there, that's your twist. And that is what they have to be very, very careful of. And again, even in the trailer, they kind of say, like, is it the thing, like, are they real? Is what's going on real? Or is it the people that, like, did it to them? Was something going on with them supernatural-wise? Or is it just something completely different? And again, you really have to watch out for that. So I think the trailer had a ton of potential. I loved the trailer. I think it was really, really good. Again, it was not something I expected. Didn't have a release date. Still said summer. The leak has been it's going to be June 15th. At this point, though, that's only 2 months away. 2 months actually to today, right? The day you guys are watching this. So they don't have a lot of time. If it would be June, it could be. I feel like that's a good time. I don't think it would be in July. Again, we've talked about, I think, June or August. Hopefully it's June. Hopefully we can get this game sooner rather than later. But again, they didn't give a release date. Trailer looked very, very promising. At the same time, and we may have actually even gotten visual hints as to what the next 2 games are going to be. But at the same time, there is some worry signs. I'm optimistic, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm going to call it for what it is. That's just who I am, right? I'm not going to lie to you guys or, just make myself out to be someone I'm not. And I really like Supermassive Games. I want to support them. And at the same time, I really want the best game that they could possibly make. And so that's something that I'm going to be pushing for. And if it's not, then we have to talk about that, right? But guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? What do you think of that Little Hope trailer? What do you think those symbols meant? Any of that kind of stuff that I talked about in this video, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys are subscribed to this YouTube channel. Hit that bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. And I do a new video on this channel every single day. As we get closer to Little Hope, when we get the release date, all that kind of stuff, I will be covering it. When the game comes out, I'll be covering it as well. So if you guys like these games, I will definitely be covering it either here or on Podcast Now, or probably both, okay? Thank you again so much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all on the next video.